You've called this Termination Day instead of Liberation Day. What will be the response now from Canada?
Well, let's see where these tariffs go. I'm cautiously optimistic that I never saw Canada or Mexico on that list, and it just goes to show you two great countries working together, collaborating together, and building relationships. So it's I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it's if that's the case, it's the right thing for both the U.S. and Canada.
Well, and considering Canada was not on that list, we understand the existing regime is in place, so the tariffs that are in place with the exemption of goods that are USMCA compliant. Does that mean, sir, at least in your mind, that it wouldn't be appropriate for Canada to retaliate for this at this time?
That is correct. If that's the case, then I would highly recommend to the Prime Minister not to retaliate. And let's carry on a strong relationship. Let's build the AMCAN fortress, American-Canadian fortress, around both countries and be the wealthiest, most prosperous, safest two countries in the world.
You've suggested that Canada would bring down its tariffs if the United States did the same. Does this turn into a game of chicken? Do you believe that the White House would respond accordingly?
Well, I hope so. We're neighbors for the last 200 years, and when we show good faith, or the U.S. shows good faith, you have to follow. This is a partnership that's going to go on for hopefully several hundred more years and decades to come, and we have bigger concerns, both Canada and the U.S., than each other. We have to keep an eye on other countries like China.
Who makes the first move in a game like that?
Well, we'll work collaboratively with the administration and with our Prime Minister, and he'll be speaking to President Trump, I'm sure, over the next day or so, and we'll be working with Secretary Lutnick and to get a clear picture of what this means for Canada.
What about what it means for the auto sector in particular? Because, of course, we learned last week that the president would announce what he made final today, which is that 25% tariffs on auto imports will be going into place. Obviously, parts are going to be included in that eventually, sir. So what impact do you expect that alone will have, even if tariffs on or reciprocal tariffs were not applied to Canada today?
Well, I just hope there's no tariffs on auto, because parts go back and forth across the border 7-8 times before they get assembled either in Ontario or one of the states, be it Michigan or other U.S. states. It's a system that works and has worked since 1965. I've always said you can't unscramble an egg that's been around since 1965. You have to make the omelet larger. And we're just so much stronger together. We buy as many vehicles as we sell down there. And the ones that we ship to the U.S., 50% of that automobile is U.S. parts. So I think the system is working well for both countries, and it's a great system. Especially Canada is buying 400% more vehicles off the U.S. than Mexico does, 200% more than any other country in the world. We have an incredible relationship with the two great countries. They're so integrated on many different sectors, but even the people are integrated. Millions and millions of Canadians and Americans travel back and forth across the border. They have family members on both sides of the border, and we just appreciate. And Canadians love Americans. I love Americans. I love the U.S. I spent 20 years of my life there, and I have a tremendous amount of respect and friendships with our American counterparts.
Well, it's interesting to hear you say that, Premier Ford. You've been really careful from the commentary that I've heard to direct your remarks at the Trump administration, at the president himself, as opposed to the American people, suggesting that you're looking to reset our trade relationship here on a more positive level, maybe in a post-tariff world. But we've also heard from the Prime Minister that our trade relationship as we know it is over. Which is true?
Well, I believe in never getting personal with anyone, no matter if it's President Trump or Secretary Lutnick. We'll talk about the issues. We may go back and forth. It's no different than family members around the table. You may disagree, but at the end of the day, you come out united and stronger than ever before. Because again, there's a lot of people that don't see eye to eye with the U.S. and Canada, and especially how close we are. We'll need each other for many years to come.
Well, and when we consider the various figures in the Canadian government, you yourself included, obviously there are many people in the Trump administration who have had a hand in shaping these policies. I know you've been in contact with the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, in particular. Do you believe he had a role in making sure Canada was not included on that list today?
Well, I'm really hoping. You know, I have a very good relationship with Secretary Lutnick. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. He's an extremely bright business person, a very shrewd negotiator. That's his job, and I understand that. And our job is to make sure we protect Ontario jobs and Canadian jobs as well. But again, we're so integrated, everything from travel to, you know, commerce and everything in between.
When we consider the way forward here, Premier Ford, is it going to be on a national level here, or will it be by the provinces? Is this something that you've discussed with the Prime Minister?
It will always be on a national level. The Prime Minister will lead these negotiations, and hopefully we can sit down and either get a USCA deal or renew the USMCA deal, and that would be up to President Trump but our Prime Minister. I'm the chair of the premiers. It changes every year, and we have a great group of premiers, and the Prime Minister listens to what we have to say.
But if your voice will be included in this conversation, what would an appropriate renegotiation of the USMCA agreement actually look like? What changes would Canada be willing to accept?
Well, I thought the USMCA deal that President Trump put together and said that it was the greatest deal ever, I'd love to see that stay the way it is. I want to increase trade, and be it the critical minerals that China has cut the U.S. off, be it the high-grade nickel or other critical minerals that the U.S. can't get. There's no one else in the world I'd want to give them to more than our closest friends and allies. That's the way we should operate, in my opinion. We share the same values. There's no two greater countries, an unprotected border, the longest in the world. That's the way it's been for years, and it's worked. And I'd love to see it continue to work.
Well, so how, I guess, in the end, do you feel, Mr. Ford, about what we heard today from the White House? You could frame this as could have been worse. You could also feel betrayed by some of the comments that President Trump delivered. How would you describe?
Well, I never take anything personal, be it from President Trump or anyone else. I understand he's a business man, and that's the way he conducts his business. And fair enough, he has a job to do. We have a job to do, and I think any negotiation, we meet in the middle and make sure that we grow two great countries and make them the strongest in the world, that no one can touch us. We'll ship down all the critical minerals. We'll ship down all the oil that you need and electricity, anything that you need. We have more natural resources than anyone in the entire world. And again, there's no one I'd want to ship it down to more than our great friends and allies.
Well, finally, as you raise natural resources, we do understand, based on an official that briefed reporters, that coming later, expected shortly, in fact, or possible soon, could be action specifically on lumber, as well as critical minerals, which you just mentioned, with Section 232 tariffs possible soon. What response would you have prepared if indeed those go into place?
Well, I think we've had this lumber war been going on, it seems, for decades, but majority of the homes built in the U.S. are from Canadian lumber. It would jack up the cost of homes immediately. That's the same as the auto sector. It increased the cost of the American people to buy an automobile. Pharmaceuticals, same thing. Seniors that are relying on low-cost pharmaceuticals, that would go up as well. These are areas that I believe would be beneficial for both countries to move forward and work together and be very cautious when we look at any tariffs on any of those three sectors.